This is East Carolina All-American Bryant Packard, and we're talking Pirate baseball in the Sports Objective.
You're watching Extra Innings, presented by Pgxgloves.com on the Sports Objective. Join us every Sunday night on Facebook Live, our YouTube channel, and X as we talk East Carolina baseball. We'll analyze the previous week while also taking a look at what lies ahead. Now, let's talk Pirate baseball.
Welcome into Extra Innings right here on the Sports Objective. Pirates have a tough day today at the office as they lose 11-9, the last game of the Keith LeClaire Classic. With me right now, the gentleman from LaGrange, Kyle from LaGrange Barber.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, good weekend up until today. Nice win Friday. Nice pitching performance, winning overtime against Fullerton yesterday, and then couldn't get it done today against Law. But weird game, back and forth, somewhat reminiscent of the Carolina game last week. Is every Sunday game going to be like this?
You get your money's worth. Normally, I say from China Grove, but right now from Oak Island, Bubba Rosenbaum. How are you?
I'm doing okay, guys. We got spring break this week, so enjoyed a long weekend at the beach. Would have loved to have been able to get to Clark LeClaire, but hopefully we'll see some Pirate baseball this week, considering I do not return to school until the following Monday, 1 week from tomorrow. And so, definitely, if not the midweek games against VCU, definitely plan on getting up to Lynchburg and some of that Liberty series.
Yeah, that's going to be fascinating. In fact, what's great about baseball, we always talk about football, guys, I'm not going to say too much on this about scheduling, but it's great about scheduling for baseball because you have so many games in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia that you can travel to. And I tell you one thing, that's one thing, you better schedule East Carolina if you want to sell out your stadium, because everywhere you go, Pirate Nation is there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, Liberty draws well, I'm sure, for baseball like they do everything else, but we always bring a large fan base with us. So, for baseball, yeah, we're going to draw well, and there's so much good baseball in this area. You typically, no matter where you are in the country, your midweek games are going to be against regional opponents, and we're fortunate enough that all of our regional opponents are quality opponents. So the midweek games are going to be quality, and then the weekend series, like against Liberty, is a quality series. They're a very good program now in Conference USA, and then before that, you got two midweek games against a very good VCU that is a consistent NCAA team, wins the A10 most years. So and a good program going back to the Colonial days. So
Yeah,
it's a tough week ahead.
Hey, Kyle, I was getting ready to say that, Justin. Justin's got an interesting situation. His wife went to Liberty. You remember that, Kyle? And they're going to have the football game up there in September. And of course, this weekend, it's house divided because his wife went to Liberty. Justin, of course, with East Carolina. So I was getting ready to put that up there, Justin, but you beat me to it. That's going to be
now with Justin's wife going to Liberty, and I'm sure she's a lovely lady. But I mean no insult when I say this, but does she believe the Teletubbies are gay?
Oh my God. Was that from Falwell?
It was from Jerry Falwell. Yes.
I have forgotten all about that. You always do that to me, Kyle. You bring up memory. I had forgotten. I would have never remembered that.
Yeah, I can't. Jerry Falwell was such a doofus.
Nothing wrong with Liberty. I do like Liberty.
Nothing wrong with the university, but Falwell was a doofus.
Justin says no comment.
Okay.
Oh, you're the man. You are the man. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Craig. He said, "What a trio of sexy beasts we have right here." Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, Craig.
I think we appreciate that, Craig. I'm not quite sure.
No, Craig is cool. Craig is a cool dude.
Craig is just a good guy, but I don't know about the sexy beast thing. I don't know. I'll take it as a compliment.
It is a compliment. He's one of us. The great show, by the way, is presented by Pgxgloves.com, and we'll be talking about that more later on. But want to thank Mark Menakazi. And baseball is starting this week for us. Softball is starting up for my kids, so I've got to go to Pgxgloves.com, and I'll do it after the show. They asked me if they could get if they could get some new gloves. They always ask me that because they know how great Pgxgloves.com and their kids on the teams always are fascinated by the different gloves. You know, they have all the different types up there for it's great for kids. By the way, Craig said he's not a Teletubby.
Craig, I got it. All right, that makes perfect sense. That answers that question with the sexy beast comment.
And
I didn't think you were.
Jerry Jr. and his pool boy, LOL. I'm not sure if it was. Oh man, it was not Kyle. No, that was not Kyle.
What's that, Jerry? Well, you know the videos I saw of Falwell Jr. were him on a boat drinking a beer with with bikini clad girls. So I mean, you know, that's what I'd be doing if I was a multimillionaire. But I wouldn't be pretending I'm a religious zealot that was, you know, following in the path of my father. I don't blame him for being a millionaire on a boat with a beer with girls in bikinis, but don't pretend like you're holier than thou while you're doing so. And that's all I have to say about the Falwell family.
That's all I have to say about that. It's like Forrest Gump. We're talking Pirate baseball tonight. Want to get your comments, your thoughts, your questions. You can put them up there on Facebook in the comments section, of course, on YouTube. In fact, thank you so much for all the YouTube subscribers, man. You guys are really rocking it up there. And on the screen right now, you see all the different platforms for social media, how you can subscribe, you can join, you can be a part of this great group. And by the way, before we talk Pirate baseball, I want to give a shout out to Bubba, Kyle, and Matt couldn't be with us tonight. Friday made 6 years. If you're just joining us and didn't see our post on social media, but very proud of that. A lot of podcasts don't make it 6 episodes, and we've made it 6 years. So really proud of that. Thank you, Kyle. Kyle's been with me since the second episode, and Bubba joined in behind the scenes in April, and then we all went together in July. And I know of 18, and then of course Matt joined us like 3 or 4 years ago. It's hard to believe time is going by very fast. But thanks to all the viewers and listeners and our guests, because without them, we wouldn't have a show. And the great guys with me, you guys are awesome. So I'll go to war with you guys anytime, any place. Let's have some fun tonight. What do you guys have to say about that? And then we'll talk Pirate baseball.
6 years. I remember doing the first episode with you as we taped it at IHOP because
I was trying to remember
face
what you ordered that night. I thought about that the last.
I ordered blueberry pancakes and an omelet. I think
that's right. You did. I do remember the blueberry pancakes.
Yeah, because I think you just got blueberry pancakes. I don't think you got an omelet.
I did not get an omelet. No.
But yeah, that's what we had. And
it was when Comfort got his.
When Comfort got fired. Yeah, we did the. Yeah, so I was nervous as crap too because I wasn't used to doing this, but just doing my calls on Pirate Radio. But you know, a lot of good guests over the years. Got to talk to a lot of people. Didn't everything I get. I mean, I never thought I'd have a 1 hour conversation with Charlie Ward or you know, we've had the opportunity.
I got to interview him.
Huh?
When I got a chance to interview Jim McMahon, that was really cool.
Yeah. I unfortunately missed the Tim Brando interview, which I still regret. That
was cool.
There's been a lot of good guests up here over the years. David Garrard, you know, all the Pirate greats. I mean, good God, if we start going down the list of Pirate greats, we're going to leave people out.
Yeah.
But anybody and everybody pretty much in Pirate history has been on the podcast with the exception of a few. So just the people, the live parties we used to do. We haven't done one of those in a while. Maybe it's time to break. We got to find a new location and the right time to do it and the right reason to do it. But the live parties at O'Cool that we did, that the first one was special, and then the 79 78 Independence Bowl would be my second favorite one. Maybe my favorite, maybe even more so than the first.
Well, Pat died talking to Mike Houston.
Yes, yeah, Mike Houston just got hired, and you know, and the original Nostalgia Party was fun, but the Independence Bowl really it got us pressed. WNCT. What pisses me off about the coverage of that when Bailey and WNCT walked in, you know, on us doing that, which was great, but then they didn't acknowledge the Sports Objective podcast. that was doing it. They just said as a reunion of the '78 Independence Bowl team, and gave us no credit that we were the ones friggin' doing it. So it was kind of half-ass publicity for us, but that was cool. No offense to Bailey, I'm not saying it that
It was
way,
great.
but
Yeah. What's up, Bubba?
I wish he would have shouted us out. Those are the guys doing the damn reunion. But anyway,
What about you, Bubba? 6 great years. I appreciate your hard work, man. And we got some exciting things.
we only put all that money and time into it. Why should we be acknowledged? But anyway, go ahead.
Just a lot of what Kyle said, and just the magnitude of some of the guests that were gracious enough to give us some of their time, and many times a lot of their time. 45 minutes to an hour or an hour plus, like Charlie Ward and Jim McMahon, so many others, and really it was pretty surprising to me, how many people were willing to come on the show. Really, before we were a proven commodity, and then here in the last 2 or 3 years, once we had built a brand or a name for ourselves, just people coming up to you at games, whether it's a football, basketball, baseball, or just someone that I'd run into out in public, in the greater Charlotte area or wherever, and just they'd see me with pirate stuff on. We get to talking, something would come up about the podcast. Oh, I'll listen. And ran into someone last weekend at the Sunday game against North Carolina. I can't remember if I mentioned this on last week's show. Don't believe I did. But a gentleman from Raleigh, last name Gagnon, and he was a great guy. And
Did he
just
actually pronounce it Gagnon?
I believe so, but because I asked him,
Traditionally, it's Ganya.
I asked him if he was related to Taylor, and he said no, he's not. But it's not the first time he got that question. Obviously, the former East Carolina basketball player and Greenville native,
Right. I was
Taylor Gagnon.
thinking about other guests, just popping in my head recently, Bubba, you and me on one of our spinoff shows that you can find on the on the YouTube channels or anywhere or where you listen to our podcast, The Coach's Kid. We had Terry Bowden on, or excuse me, Tommy Bowden. So we got to interview Tommy Bowden, Bobby Bowden's son, legendary head coach himself of Clemson and Tulane, Tommy, and then recently Smacker Miles, Les Miles' daughter, and thinking about 2 years ago interviewing Greg Olson, Baltimore Braves great, who, just different random guests popping in my head now. So it's been cool to have these conversations with people. I never thought I'd have Ruffin McNeil's personal cell phone number where I can just send him a text, just crap like that. Just
Yeah.
you just don't expect to have happen that, you take it for granted lots of times that, but it shouldn't be taken for granted. And it's thinking back on it, it's really been cool.
And a lot of times, you may ask yourself, why am I doing this? So much time and effort goes into it. But then when you have the encounters like I did last week, meeting a guy tailgating that says, oh, man, I love y'all's work. And he's actually strictly a consumer via the traditional podcast platforms. He said, I listen to you guys while I'm mowing the yard, or doing work around the house. And I really appreciate what you guys do. That makes it worth it all. And, all we want is for the Pirates to be successful, and we love East Carolina and love talking about ECU.
Yeah, that and more sponsors.
There you go. We'll work on it. That's one of the speaking of objectives for 2024 is if you love the show, then you can email us at thesportsobj@gmail.com is the easiest way to get up with us. thesportsobj@gmail.com. And guys, by the way, Justin's a umpire. And he said, I just want to say I appreciate you guys for what you do and for showing love the QA3. And then he says, listen to this, Kyle.
Queen Anne's Revenge for our listeners, and the equipment truck for ECU football.
Oh, okay. Now I get it. Queen's Anne's. Okay.
And Justin also says we make his week.
Absolutely. If you see on the screen there, it's the podcast for Pirates. And of course, we have we're on YouTube, Facebook, of course, X, also formerly known as Twitter. The sport, I was going to say the Sports Objective, but Instagram, TikTok, and again, thesportsobj@gmail.com.
And anywhere you listen to podcasts, if you're listening to this on any of those platforms like YouTube, Facebook, etc., if you ever just want to listen to an audio format, put on your ear, God Almighty, your earbuds or your headsets. I'm trying to combine the words. Put your phone in your pocket and go. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, whatever the hell Google's podcast
Google
platform is.
Podcast.
Google Podcasts, anywhere you listen, anywhere podcasts can be found. Tune in radio. iHeartRadio. Are we on iHeartRadio or am I lying?
We are on iHeart. Yeah.
Yeah, anywhere you can listen to podcast, you can find us. And obviously, if you're already listening to us, you found us somewhere.
Not all, but many of those links. Something I took care of and updated recently on our YouTube channel. Like Dave mentioned, we're closing in on 1,200 subscribers there, but we have probably at least 10, maybe 15 links to many of those podcast platforms that Kyle references: SoundCloud, Audio Boom, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, Blog Talk Radio. A bunch of those links are right there. So if you ever want to listen via a traditional podcast platform as opposed to YouTube or Facebook, we try to make it easy for you. And if you have not subscribed, be sure to do so while you're there, and ring that notification bell so you're notified on your device anytime we go live or upload new content. And so let's dive back into the baseball. You have the midweek game at Old Dominion. Pirates, unfortunately, 6-5 losers on a walk-off home run. We talked about it last week. What a challenging game that would be, coming off an emotional series win over number 15 North Carolina, rivalry like that, and the way in which you won that series on Sunday. And that's exactly what it was. You got off to a great start, though. You had a couple guys get on, Carter Cunningham and Starr, and then JJC delivers a 3-run bomb, and you're like, hey, here we go. But then ODU responded with a home run, a 2-run shot in the bottom of the first, and then not a particularly good start for Ethan Norby. Definitely wanted to get him back out there quickly after him struggling in relief against North Carolina on Sunday afternoon. And Old Dominion did a lot of their damage via the long ball, and the Pirates kind of went silent in the middle innings. From the 4th inning to the 7th inning, I think we had one hit, and a couple times in the early innings you had 2 guys on with less than 2 outs, nothing to show for it. You'd hit into a double play or have a couple of strikeouts. And then one of the big stories was just the bottom part of the lineup. You had 1 through 4 go 6 out of 15, but 5 through 9 against the Monarchs, 0 for 18. And you battle back late to tie it. You had Starr with a double after Carter Cunningham had led off the 8th inning with a triple. And what a week for Carter. We'll talk more about that later. But Starr, clutch as he so often is, with that game time double. But then after you tied at 5, you have Starr, the go-ahead run on second base with nobody out. You have 3 straight strikeouts with JJC, Dixon, and Chaz Myers pinch hitting. But and then you also had Wyatt Lunsford and Schinkman pitch very well out of the pen, but then he did obviously allow that game-winning home run.
Yeah, that game, I know that there are people out there right now going, here we go again with the midweeks, but let's look at who we're playing in the midweeks. If they were cupcake teams, then you have something to be worried about. You have a Campbell team, Justin here in his program. You think about ODU. They were hosting a couple years ago, guys, or they had to go down to was it Clemson or South Carolina? South Carolina, right?
Yeah, they had to go to South Carolina last year when a lot of people thought they had a chance to host.
Yeah. So it's not like we're playing. I would be worried if you're playing like these easy in-state, which I don't even know there is one, but easy in-state games that we're winning 15-5, and all of a sudden we're losing games. You might want to be a little concerned. But if you know anything about Cliff Godwin and the staff, they do a great job with scheduling, and they schedule tough opponents. And it may seem tough and rough right now, but man, in June it's going to look really pretty.
Definitely, definitely believe so. And that's what history says.
And
Yeah,
also I don't think we're that. I don't think we're that far away now. We just got to have our relief pitching come around, and we're fine. I mean,
right.
our bats are good. We got good starting pitching. We just got to get more consistent relief pitching and more consistent more consistent midweek pitching, and I think the bullpen will come around this early season. I'd be shocked if we're not in hosting position by the time June rolls around. I'm not saying for sure we will host, but I'd be shocked if we're not in that conversation.
Yeah,
No,
Wyatt Lunsford, Chinkman, and Danny Bill. I want to say both of them had just over 30 appearances a year ago, and so they were relied on heavily, and both of them delivered more often than not. I talked about how Wyatt, up until he allowed the walk off on Tuesday, pitched well, and then he had an excellent outing that allowed us to beat Fullerton, which we'll talk more about that game here in a few minutes. But he's found his command. Now we need Danny Bill to do the same. But before we move on to the weekend, just wanted to give a shout out to the kid from ODU that came in late there after the Pirates had tied the game at 5 in the top of the 8th. Bailey Matella,
yeah.
he worked 2 innings, didn't allow a runner hit, obviously, and then struck out 5 without walking a batter. So just an unbelievable relief performance by that young man, and allowed the Monarchs to get the big midweek win. And before we talk about the Keith LeClaire Classic, how about the Monarchs taking 2 out of 3 from the Charlotte 49ers this weekend?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
and ODU, they were on the upswing in their last few years of Conference USA. Now their second year in the Sun Belt. Sun Belt's a hell of a baseball league. So ODU is not going to be a bad loss. Their RPI is going to be good, just based on the league they're in. Because I mean, the Sun Belt, if you ain't been paying attention, and I know everybody watching the show knows what's up with college baseball. You can make the argument in football, which is the better league, the American or the Sun Belt. There ain't no argument in baseball. The Sun Belt's a much better league. So a loss to ODU ain't gonna really hurt you.
Yeah,
No,
a year ago, Kyle, just elaborating on your point there, the Sun Belt has replaced the American as far as being the
yep.
fifth best conference. So you always have the SEC and ACC, and then you have the Pac-12, which will obviously cease to exist here shortly, and then the Big 12, and after that,
Maybe not.
after that, the SBC, the Sun Belt.
You guys, did you guys see that there's going to be something Kyle and I talked about off air a few months ago? But there's talks now, not to get off on the rails here really fast, but we'll talk about it on a future show. There's talks now, the Pac-12 Mountain West merger.
Well, I mean, it's something like that's gonna have to happen for in the meantime, they're operating as a two-team conference for football with a scheduling agreement for football, and I believe the two Pac-12 schools are involved in the West Coast Conference for all other sports. But yeah, something's going to have to happen. I don't know. We'll talk about that on a later date. But to 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 finish the point about the Sun Belt and Old Dominion, and then we'll move on to the Keith LeClaire Classic. Just quickly, if you don't know who's in the Sun Belt, we'll just talk about the top of the Sun Belt. You got Coastal Carolina, you got Southern Mississippi, you got Georgia Southern, you got Louisiana, you got Texas State, you got South Alabama. Uh, these are all quality baseball programs, and
Mhm.
then you got the likes of Old Dominion, JMU. So it's a really good baseball league. It's a 3 to 4 bid league every year. So yeah, the point of all this is ODU. They're going to have a chance to make the NCAA tournament. They don't have to win their league or even finish second. They can finish third or fourth, and even if they are not at the top of their league, they finish 5th or 6th, they're still going to have a good strength of schedule. So, not a bad loss is the point of all this.
And
That's
Coastal Carol, sorry, Dave, but just a little bit more about the Sun Belt. Texas State, they took down number 15 Texas yesterday down at Minute Maid Park, 11-10. You had number 22 Coastal Carolina. Of course, we remember back, I guess what's been 7 or 8 years ago now, but the Chanticleers winning that national title. But number 22 Coastal swept Liberty. Next weekend's opponent for East Carolina
So they're
down
already in
in
no, Liberty's in CUSA. I was about to say
yeah
they're already in conference play, but Liberty's in
down
CUSA.
in Conway. They're supposed to be playing on Friday, of course, but that was rained out, so they played a doubleheader today. Coastal won 8-7 on Saturday. Then today, 12-5 and 7-0 to sweep the Flames.
Yeah, we have Liberty this coming weekend.
yep.
So we want to jump into the Keith LeClaire Classic. Friday night, the Pirates take on the Purdue Boilermakers, a team that's always pretty solid in the Big Ten. Yeah, I don't know if people realize that, but Purdue baseball is normally in the top half of Big Ten play.
Yeah, I thought our game with Purdue, and I tell you what. By the way, how about the performance from Trey Savage? Hey, Bubba, wasn't it 103 pitches for you, Savage?
I don't have the pitch count. That sounds correct.
I think it was 103.
But I did have the other numbers. Trey, 8 innings, 8 shutout innings, 2 hits, 11 strikeouts, 2 walks. 2-0 now is Trey Savage. And listen to these season numbers for the hard throwing Pirate right-hander. Who's so highly touted and expected to be a first-round draft pick potentially following the 2024 season. But Trey, 2-0 with an ERA of 1, 18 innings pitched, 7 hits, 2 runs. Both of those are earned. 30 strikeouts in those 18 innings compared to 7 free passes, 5 walks, and 2 hit batters. Opponents are hitting just 115 against him.
They have that promotion with KFC with 10 strikeouts. They might have to go up to 15, right, Bubba and Kyle?
They're just giving away chicken legs.
And along those same lines, when you have a pitching performance like that and the new pitch clock rules, I'm sure you guys, you may have noticed this in the box score, you may not have, but do you have a guess on the length of Friday's game? Of course, we had the start time of 2:00 because of the rain coming in.
I can probably guess this because I forgot the game started at 2, and I remember turning it on before Jessica got home from work, and 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I said 2.
Go ahead, Dave.
2 hours and 15 minutes.
Not bad. Not bad guesses. 1 hour, 56 minutes.
Wow. I was closer. I win. Are we both went over? Is it Price is Right rules? Did neither one of us win? I knew it was fast. I should have actually. Yeah, I do. You know what? I should have realized it was before 4:00 when it was over. That just doesn't seem like it's possible. But
it's a lot of 1, 2, 3.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. But, I've seen college baseball games go 4 hours, so that's nuts.
Yeah.
After a couple of scoreless innings, and you had a big home run by Carter Cunningham, 1 of 3 on the week for Carter, who's just off to an unbelievable start to 2024 after a very solid 2023. Dixon Williams, Oppo Taco, first career home run for the Greenville product out of DH Conley, and Riley Johnson, who's hitting, I think, about 345 through 11 games. Riley was 2 for 4 with a double against the Boilermakers. And then you had Jackson DiLorenzo, a.k.a. D-Lo. He did allow the solo shot in the 9th, but all in all, he continues to pitch pretty well. And in that situation, a 7-0 lead, not the biggest thing. The biggest thing, he came in, he threw strikes. Yeah, he gave up a solo bomb, but That's something you love to see, that we haven't seen out of several other Pirate relievers on the command.
What kind of with De Lorenzo? Do we know what his? Did he ever start? He's a freshman, right? He's not a transfer, right?
Right. He's a freshman, and then Coach Godwin said he actually struggled, pretty extremely, perhaps even in the fall. But the
Okay.
jump that he made from the fall to this spring, he's just unbelievable, and is showing up now.
Yeah, I just wonder if he would be a good guy to maybe throw midweek to try to get a we need to figure out who our midweek starters are going to be.
My guess is that at least one of them, perhaps Tuesday, but I think it'll be Chris Kaler. Chris Kaler did not pitch this weekend in the
Yeah.
Keith LeClaire Classic. Don't be surprised if Chris Kaler gets the ball on Tuesday against VCU.
Hey guys, Justin Buss is talking about a game under 2 hours is like a high school game. That they've done a hell of a job. They keep it. He says game on Tuesday went 2 hours and 35 minutes, went a little long. But by the way, Justin's saying, look, my opinion on the home plate guy today was horrible, so inconsistent coming from Justin Butts. That's not for me. Not for me.
He was inconsistent. I'll even say that.
And Wilson Rayner was at second base, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I will agree with Justin on that. I'm not very critical of the umpires typically, but I do think the balls and strikes were not always consistent today.
And that does, and when people say, well, the Pirates, yeah, we can hit more, balls and everything, but at the same time, if it's strike three and you walk a guy, that does make a big difference, because those runs, that's the difference. And Bubba, was it 11 walks today? It was a lot of walks.
No, it wasn't that bad. We had five walks and 2 hit batters.
Oh,
and
five.
They just were all at unopportune times, and we walked in 2 friggin' runs.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
I wanted to throw my TV out the window.
That's baseball.
It irritates the piss out of me to walk in a run.
Amen.
Well,
Amen.
you had the two walks and a hit batter, and perhaps even a wild pitch. You had four runs Southeastern Louisiana scored where they literally didn't have to do anything.
No, we beat ourselves today. There's anybody that thinks anything else don't know what the hell they were watching.
But
the good news about it is that we can clean that up. I mean,
no, exactly. That's why I'm not that worried.
I mean, so let's go back to we were talking Friday's game. You want to do move on to Saturday now? Or are you done, Bubba?
Yeah, and let's shift over to that Cal State Fullerton game. Of course, one of the storylines with this matchup, former Pirate pitching coach from 2020 and 2021, who we chatted with midweek, prior to the Titans making the trip to Greenville, Jason Dietrich, Coach Dietrich, in his third season year there, took them to a regional a season ago in Palo Alto against Stanford. They'd already taken a series from the Cardinal this year. Stanford, very similar situation to Cal State Fullerton as far as having lost a lot from a year ago. But we saw a tremendous start, not only from Zach Root, but probably even better, even though he didn't go quite as long into the game as Root. He went 6 2/3, and that's Micaiah Negretti, lefty. 6 2/3, 1 run. It was unearned on 5 hits, 4 strikeouts, and 2 walks. So no, he didn't strike out a lot of guys, but he just had us off balance. Cliff was very complimentary, as you would expect in the post game, and just saying, how he was able to locate his off speed stuff, and as a result, had us off balance. And you saw us have some quality at bats early, and we hit in some double plays, which has been an all too common trend here early in the season. But then after we had those threats early, we trailed 1-0 going into the let me see, the 6th or the 7th, I think the 7th. We found a way to tie it up in the 7th. What a game by Colby Wallace, very talented freshman who we'll also see on the mound here soon. With our struggles in the bullpen, and Coach Godwin said that post game today that as we've heard, he definitely is a viable two-way guy, and don't be surprised to see him on the mound this week with a 5-game week coming up with VCU and Liberty. But one of the stories of this game, in addition to the performance of Colby Wallace, you had those very big two-out hits with 2 strikes as well, and the second of those tied the game at 1. And then he also had a third hit, which came in, I believe it was the bottom of the 11th, when we ended up getting the sac fly from Nate Chrisman to left field to walk it off. But just had some missed opportunities, but thanks to the relief effort of Wyatt Lunsford Schinkman, 4 innings. In those 4 innings, I think he allowed 1, maybe 2 hits, struck out 7. It was nice to see a reliever that you knew you could rely on previously pitch the way we know he can pitch, and because of that, you gave the offense multiple opportunities, and finally they were able to cash in.
Yeah, that game yesterday, I tell you what, I was telling somebody I should be a heart patient at ECU Health in Greenville because, man, that game was as advertised. We knew that with Coach Dietz that the pitching was great. We win it. And I tell you what, I want to give a shout out to our fans because I couldn't be there, obviously, this weekend, but I really loved it sounded on television to be, once again, great crowds all 3 days. And, you had to move up the game to 2:00 on Friday because of the weather. And there's all kinds of excuses why we shouldn't have the crowds. And they just continue to play a big part, I really believe, in our success at home.
Yeah, well, we've sold a lot of season tickets. Keep the Kirk Classic, something a lot of people have circled on their calendar. Fullerton's a team that, traditional powerhouse, a team that competes for national championships historically. Down for several years. Dietrich takes them back to the regionals last year. And I think there'll be another. I think they'll have a good chance to make the regionals again this year. Cal State Fullerton should be good. It's good for college baseball for Cal State Fullerton to be good. It's a program we have a lot of respect for, and it's good to get the win.
Hey, Stevie, what's up, Stevie Fly?
Stevie Fly watching us. Stevie.
The biggest Kiss fan in northeastern North Carolina.
Stevie was just doing a podcast just a moment ago, so he must have switched this. Got done with his podcast, turned on our podcast. But Stevie, welcome in. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, no doubt. And
Stevie, there was a dude. We were at the Roanoke Rapids Theater for Clint Black Friday night, as you know, and I don't know who the dude was that was doing the hype man, hyping up the show, doing the introductions, but he sounded just like you. He had that exact same northeastern North Carolina accent, only not nearly as talented as one Stevie Fly.
Stevie's the best, man. Oh, that Ace Frehley has a new album, so he just finished that. So
okay, that's what he was doing on the podcast. I knew he was reviewing an album. I turned it on. I knew it was an album that I was not familiar with. It was clearly a rock album because they were talking about guitar riffs and stuff like that. And I was like, well, it's probably not something I'm really familiar with. So I moved on.
he said he said he's no Andy Taylor. I guess he's talking about Ace Frehley.
No, he's talking about himself. I joke that Stevie is the Andy Taylor of Lasker, North Carolina, because the man does everything. He puts up the Christmas lights for the town of Lasker. He coaches the football team of Northeast Academy. He is the Andy Taylor of Lasker, North Carolina.
James, what's up?
Now we got James. We got all my boys checking in. James checking in from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I know Southern Miss took 2 out of 3. I don't know if they won game 3 today against Indiana State, who was a regional host team last year and made the Supers. So I know the Golden Eagles took 2 out of 3. I don't know if they won game 3 today or not.
Yeah, that was such a sad situation last year. with them earning that host in Terre Haute, but
Oh yeah.
then they were unable to actually host because excuse me, that was with the super regional. They were able to host the regional, but then it was sad that they couldn't host the super regional, and that they had to go to TCU because there was something else going on campus where they
Oh yeah.
it wasn't going to work logistically. I hated that.
Oh, you got to make that work. That's that. Oh my God, could you imagine that happening here? Oh,
That would
No,
never
it would not.
whatever it was. Sorry, kids, you're gonna have to graduate somewhere else. Um,
Oh, that's I forgot about
That's something that has happened before. And we've had the graduations going on at the same time.
yeah, I mean, and you have to plan for it. And I mean, I don't guess Indiana State thought there'd be any way possible that they'd be in position to host a Super, man. But you got the opportunity to host a friggin' Super Regional and go to the College World Series. You got to make that happen and move some things around and not have to go to friggin' Fort Worth and play TCU. I mean, that's idiotic. But anyway, James, did y'all win today? Did you take game
they
3?
put,
Did you sweep?
you
Did
can
you
put it
sweep
up
the
there.
Sycamores?
They got 2 out of 3.
Okay, you got 2 out of, well, good enough. That's a nice series win.
There you go.
And a little more about this 2-1 11-inning win over the Fullerton Titans in the 11th inning. And we've talked about giving people extra outs and extra bases. What it did to the Pirates today, and we'll dive into that Southeastern Louisiana game a little bit more here in a couple minutes. But that was something that, even though we only won the game 2-1, Fullerton had 3 errors. The Pirates had none. Fullerton, I think, walked at least maybe 6 or 7 guys in the game, whereas the Pirates just walked, I think, 1. Zach Root, maybe not quite as sharp as he was against the Tar Heels. He didn't walk a UNC batter, but yesterday, still a heck of an outing by Zach. 7 innings, 1 run on 3 hits. That 1 run was a solo shot on a 2-0 pitch that he just left a fastball up, and the guy, Marcos, took it out of the yard and to left field. Looked like, or maybe I'm mixing that up with today, but nonetheless, heck of an outing by Zach. 10 strikeouts, 1 walk, and then now for the season, 18 2/3, 1 run. So that's the first run and only run he's allowed. 9 hits, 24 strikeouts compared to just 2 walks. So that's not bad. 12-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio for Zach Root, as he is now 2-0 on the season.
Yeah,
But
you talked about the errors with Fullerton.
Wyatt,
Go ahead.
I
Did
was just
you
saying,
have?
Wyatt Lunsford Shinkman got the win, of course, yesterday, but Zach didn't get the decision. But heck of an outing.
Yeah, you talked about the errors with Fullerton, and one of the errors came late in the game, which was the fielding error, which caused us
Oh yeah.
to go second to third and
Yeah,
first to second, and maybe first to third,
you
and
have it
then
right.
first to second, and then the I was curious your thoughts. It obviously took the double play out of the equation, which was put right back in the equation because they walked the next batter. But I did not like stealing second there. I thought it was too risky. Stealing third there was obvious. I thought stealing second there was too risky. That put the second out on the board if we didn't get the steal. You
Well,
stole
yeah,
third. You got your man in scoring position, and you're right back in the double play situation because they just walked the next batter. So I didn't like stealing second there, even though it worked. Just my
yeah.
comments.
Well, actually, we didn't. Those weren't steals when they
Whatever
advanced.
terminology you want to use, advance the runner.
Okay,
I understand it wasn't a steal. The play was still active. The ball was in the pitcher's
okay.
hand, but I
Oh
would
yeah,
say at first.
I knew what you're referring to. Just clarifying for our viewers and listeners who may not have seen it, what Kyle was referencing. Colby Wallace hit that ball to left field. So you had Dixon Williams. He led off the inning with the walk. So ball in front of him there. with the left fielder. Left fielder boots it, so Dixon heads up base running. Immediately heads to third, have a play, but he slides in safely, and then Colby Wallace is the trail runner, heads up base running, and slides in just ahead of the tag there. And like you said, that I think they did review it, but it's a very quick review. And
It wasn't even a close play.
Yeah,
It
it
wasn't
was
even a
close.
close play, but I just wouldn't have done it. I would have held him at first. Would you have sent him there?
that's one of those, is
That's tough.
as the trail runner, that's on him, largely on him to get that read, and he was. I think it was. I think it was heads up base running, but
No, it was good base running. I understand, and it
but
worked.
like you're saying, yeah. I mean,
We
I
needed
guess
one run. We needed one run to put the winning run at third. That run was meaningless. All it did was take the double play out of the equation, but you risked an out because the double play was put
Right.
right back in the equation when they walked the next batter. I would have held him at first. And if it was left up to him, and it was good base running, it all worked out. I just thought it was too risky. The risk didn't meet the reward. We didn't need the run. The winning run was at third.
All you needed is
right,
exactly what we had.
right, yeah.
So
By the way, guys,
That,
quickly, Daniel Hill Sr. says Beal looks like Sailor last year. Senior yips, maybe. I'm sure he will come along. Richie is too wild thus far. Walks galore.
yeah, I agreed. And Bill will come along, you would think.
Yeah,
Um,
Thielen.
uh, so,
Yeah,
but
they
walks kill you. You can't have walks. Look, just throw strikes. If they go yard on you, they go yard on you. But walks kill you.
yes, they do. There's a reason why why you can't have so many walks. And again, when we're I'm just curious to see about these young guys. I know there's been a lot of. I want to get y'all's thoughts on this too. But how much of it is experience in the bullpen that we've got so many young guys that hasn't had? I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying we also need to be fair to the guys that are like freshmen that are coming in the game when May and June they won't be freshmen anymore, but it's still early March.
yeah, you definitely have some guys like an Ethan Norby that are experiencing high level Division I baseball for the first time, and then you have guys that are kind of moving into different roles.
Yeah,
Some that have fared pretty well, like in Aaron Groller, coming in from Seton Hall, pitched pretty well today. He's
Yeah,
a
I didn't think we should have pulled him when we did. I thought he was pitching well. I'm not sure why we pulled him when we did.
yeah, he's a situational lefty. I think most of his outings are going to be, you
Okay,
know,
so it's all
w-
going to be situational ball. He's going to get pulled no matter how good he looks.
I mean, just that's based on what I've heard. I mean, all I've seen is what I've seen on game day, but I think he's going to typically be an out or two, or not more than an inning and a fraction. But nonetheless,
Was that his
he
role at Seton Hall, Bubba?
I'm honestly not sure about him, but Chris Kaler, who has looked pretty good for the most
yeah,
part, um, not his best against the Tar Heels last Sunday, but Chris Kaler, he was a Friday night starter, so you had a guy that was, if he would have gone back to George Washington, who knows, he may have been you'd think that he would have definitely had a shot at being the Friday night guy again, but he wants to play for a championship winning program, and a program like ours, and is willing to take on a different role. And who knows what role he may take on later this season, whether he may be the consistent midweek starter, or a consistent guy out of the pen, or maybe even a Sunday starter. Who knows?
Yeah, would love it. Right now we need some. We obviously need to find out what the rotation is in the bullpen. That is a work in progress, but we need to find consistent midweek starting too. Not that we played bad midweek. We're 0-2. We lost both games by 1 run. It would be nice to take both from VCU. It's easier said than done. VCU's a quality team, but it would be nice to take both in Clark LeClaire Tuesday and Wednesday.
No
And
doubt about
yesterday
it.
after the game, Cliff was talking about Wyatt Lunsford Shinkman, just saying that really he had pitched as well as Jake Hunter, if not better. But you had to have one of those guys in the pen. You only had that one rotation spot open. So Wyatt he pitched up to his potential yesterday. Hopefully that's the case moving forward. And I think if you see somebody else I just think with the makeup, what I know about those two, I think I like Hunter probably more in the starting role, and Wyatt Lunsford Shinkman's mentality, and just his demeanor, coming out of the bullpen. Not that he couldn't be a solid starter, because obviously we think he can be if he should be needed.
Hey, Bubba, Daniel's asking, I want to see Hodges. He's been on the team for what, 2 years? Has like 3 appearances early last year and vanished. Any idea where he is?
I know last year he's battling an injury. Right now, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I remember that. And, who knows? Sometimes guys stating the obvious, Daniel, but sometimes guys don't come back as sharp from an injury, or it takes them longer to get back. I don't know, but that's a good question. I hadn't thought, honestly, until you put his name up there, I hadn't thought about him since last season.
Yeah, we want to move on to Game 3 of the Keith LeClaire Classic, which was a barn burner. Unfortunately, did not go the way we wanted it to. The game was a hot mess in the middle innings. Pirates looked like we were going to come back and just couldn't quite close the gap, because every time we closed the gap, Eli would grow it. And then, late innings, we did finally start to shut them down a little bit, but they already had 11 runs on the board. And unfortunately, they also shut us down. It seems like games sometimes go like that. One team will stop scoring, and then the other team, all right, we'll stop scoring too.
Yeah, that would that game, the game today was just it was like a heavyweight fight, kind of like last week, but we just had with today we missed
A lot of the day was self-imposed. Last week was
opportunities.
UNC was just a good baseball team. It was a war back and forth. Today was back and forth, but a lot of it was because pitching
Yeah.
mistakes. You walk home 2 runs. You hit a batter for a run. You have a
12.
wild pitch for a run. I mean, you're not going to win baseball games doing that crap. We were
Yeah,
lucky to
last
lose it
week.
by 2 runs, honestly.
Yeah, probably the better analogy today would be like the scene from Liar Liar, where Jim Carrey was kicking his own butt in the bathroom.
Exactly. Yeah. No, we
So
kicked
what
our
the
own
heck are you
ass.
doing? I'm kicking my
I'm
A.
kicking my ass. Yeah, that was we beat ourselves up good today. Now that was look, congratulations to Southeast Louisiana. They got a nice win. It's good for their resume. Um, LSU will probably notice them more for their midweek game. I believe they play LSU midweek. So that win today probably going to help them any for that. But I that was today. That was self-imposed. Wounds, if you will. Um, not pretty pitching in the middle innings. Just stuff I can't stand. And I would imagine Cliff Godwin and pitching coach Knight. I would imagine they're probably pretty aggravated tonight.
And our starting rotation, it had been lights out. Through our first 8 starts, you knew it wasn't going to continue at that level. Just sooner or later, there would be some bumps in the road. Today, Jake Hunter wasn't terrible, but he just wasn't able to locate his breaking ball, like Cliff referenced post game. And with that, they were able to really sit on the fastball, and you saw 4 runs on 4 hits in 3 innings as a result of him not being able to mix those pitches the way he had in his first 2 outings, in which he allowed just 2 hits in 10 innings, or a little over 10 innings.
Yeah, and then nobody seemed to be able to come in and shut it down.
Yeah. Eric Ritchie and then Danny Bill. Disappointing performances by those two, and definitely confident they'll turn things around. Bill's a proven commodity. Ritchie is as well to a lesser degree. But if we're going to be the team that I know we can be and accomplish everything we want to accomplish this year, then they're going to have to deliver, and we know they can. Hey, we're 11 games into the season, long way to go.
I was going to say that tonight. I know there are people that we're all disappointed. We want to win every game, but we know in baseball it's a marathon and not a sprint. And so, and like we were talking about earlier, this is not a talent issue. This is something that we can clean up. And I think once you'll see as season goes on, you'll see these guys. The one thing for me is we got to keep these guys healthy, man. Well, if these guys stay healthy, this team is very special, for sure.
Are we playing too many pitchers, guys?
I think well, here's the thing with that. Yes and no. I would say I agree with you on that. The only thing that I think from the coaching staff they would say if they were here right now is they have to be concerned about in the moment, it would be right for the moment, but is this going to hurt them, meaning hurt the team later down the line if they pitch so much where they do get injured? We were just talking about injuries, or for their professional career. Cliff is really big about not hurting a guy and using a guy for, Bubba, I can't remember what team it was, but it was some dude that pitched like last season over 100.
I remember that. I don't remember who it was either. Yeah, but
120 some pitches,
yeah,
and then
I remember
came back and like in 2 days he had it wasn't 200 pitches in 2 days, but it was something ridiculous, and that's something that
Are you talking about in the American Athletic Conference tournament?
Yeah, it may have been
the kid from Tulane, I think.
Okay,
because I think I'm trying to remember what he had thrown just 2 or 3 days earlier, and then he came in that championship game when they had to have it to keep their season alive and advance to the tournament.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, this team. Go ahead, Bubba.
As far as what you guys were saying, the thing today that was so frustrating, you had the 7 free passes there in between, the 4th and 6th innings, and you fall behind 7-2. It's far from, nowhere close to being over because the way we can score, and you make it 7-5, and then you go up and go back out and give up a 4 spot. And so anytime we put up a crooked number, they responded with a crooked number that was even larger. So it was like 3-2. Then they put up 4. We put up 3, and they put up 4. And then after we trailed 11-5, we cut it to 11-9, and still had 6 outs, I think, to work with, and just unable to get it done in those last couple innings.
Yeah, no, I don't. The last few innings did not go the way I expected it to go, the way that game was going. But I think what happened in those middle to late innings, in the middle innings, we were beating ourselves. Then we'd come back and answer. But I think they started to believe they could win the game at that point, and we're fired up. And you get them where you want them. You shut them down, but then suddenly they shut us down. It's kind of a game of ebbs and flows. Mostly we beat ourselves today. Like I said, not too worried about it, but we need to respond. We need I think we need a 4-1 week. I mean, you can get by with a 3-2 week. A 5-0 week would be even better. But Bubba, Dave, 4-1. Is that what you're looking for this week to be satisfied?
I think at the very least, I agree with you. I think 3-2, but yeah, 4-1 is when you're looking at VCU and Liberty. I mean, not knocking either one of those programs, but it's not. It's not the. This is the. I will say this, Bubba, help me out.
We have not won a road game yet this year.
That's true.
Yeah,
wow, that's true.
Unless you count Fayetteville.
That's a neutral. That's considered neutral site, right, Bubba?
Yeah.
Of course, but it wasn't in Clark LeClaire is my point.
Right. I know what you meant. But yeah, VCU, You take care. I tell you, I'm curious to see how they'll play on Tuesday and Wednesday. But man, that road series, Liberty, you gotta win that series. And I'd say, so Bubba, excuse me, Kyle, what you're saying is basically you want to sweep VCU at home and take
Oh
two
yeah, I
out,
want to. Yeah, that would be ideal. Sweep
3
VCU at
at
home and
Liberty.
take 2 out of 3 at Liberty. Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
I would look at that as a great week.
All right. And let's go to John White, former pitcher for the Pirates. He says using a lot of arms on weekends means those Tuesday, Wednesday games are less than full arsenal. And this week,
Exactly.
2 games. Fortunately, Friday, Saturday games, Friday, Saturday game starters went long.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. Which I like. I like it when we let our starters go. I probably would not have pulled Hunter today. Let me get my names right. Root Hunter. Who started today? I'm sorry.
Jake Hunter started
Hunter.
today.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have pulled Hunter as fast as they did. But I'm with you. Yeah, when you use all those pictures on the weekend, it's less options for the midweek, and that's kind of my thoughts if we're using too many. But I don't know if we're still trying to figure out who we can use.
Yeah, and sometimes you're at a point where yes, you don't want to have too many pitches, but at the same time, John makes a great point because you want to have it where these guys are sharp and ready for the next week. I know that when you get down to tournament time, you don't have a choice where you have to. I hate to use the term, but you have to go for broke. But this is a situation. I know they're probably saying, Dave, we're worried about June. We're worried about May and June, how their arms are going to hold up. That's the only thing that I can think of. And then sometimes, then the other thing, Kyle, I would say is that Bubba's the numbers guy, and I don't see JR up here tonight, Johnny Robertson, our good friend from Virginia, but analytics is something that's taken over this game so much in the last, 10, 20 years for major leagues down. So this guy is
Yeah,
more
it all kind
prone
of
to
started
strike
with
out.
Moneyball and then went from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. It's like this guy's prone to do this against left-handers, right-handers. I don't know. The coaching staff, I'm not criticizing them. They know more about baseball than I'll ever know. So I'm not saying I know more than the coaching. Let me get that straight here on the show. Kyle and John can chime in too. Johnny says he's always watching. Well, I appreciate you, JR. We missed you. Thank you for commenting. JR is the best. And Bubba, what do you think on this? Do you think it's too many pitchers?
No,
We've used a lot of pitchers, but Cliff always uses a lot of pitchers. So I don't think it's a matter of too many pitchers.
yeah, these guys, they have to get the experience at some point. Sure, it may mean some bumps in the road here early, and no one likes it. But they got to get their experience, and they'll be better for it. You think back, and this is just one example, but you think back a couple years ago. Think about Trey Savage first appearance at Campbell. He was spiking everything in the turf. Everything was a 58-foot.
Oh yeah.
He couldn't throw a strike, and Trey referenced that recently. I'm trying to remember when it came up. It may have been his interview on Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game last week with Stephen Igo. He was just saying, I think he referenced that when he was discussing some of the struggles of our young options out of the pen. He said, "Hey, I've been in those guys' shoes, and he said, I couldn't throw a strike." He said something like, 5 or 6 out of my first 7 batters were walks or a hit batter. And he said, he said they'll come around, and you saw Jaden Winter struggle with his command today, and Cliff noted this post game. He went an inning and a third or inning and 2/3. Much sharper, and hopefully that will continue because he's a guy that he's 94, 95 at least, and has some nice breaking stuff as well. And so you have him pitching well, and then Danny Bill gets back to where we know he can be. You think yeah, it was a different role because somebody earlier referenced Garrett Saylor and how Garrett struggled as a starter, and then he moved back to the pen and pitched very well. And then at the end of the year, he had an excellent start in the conference tournament down in Clearwater. But no reason to think that Danny Bill won't find his command. And those are some of the biggest positives today.
Would you throw him?
Would I throw who?
Would you go ahead and throw Danny out there maybe Wednesday?
I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some work in one of those games.
Are you saying as
if
a
you're
starter?
talking about a starting role, I don't think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see.
Get him some significant innings.
Yeah,
go ahead and get this bad
I
taste
think
out of his mouth.
I think he would probably see an inning or two of work in a 2 midweek game scenario like this. So something else we haven't noted today, kind of shifting over to the lineup side, we talked about the inconsistent production of the middle and bottom of the order. A guy that had struggled. I'm not sure, how many quality at bats he had, but his average is not what you want for it to be. And that's J-Dub, Justin Wilcoxon today, though, 3 hits, 2 left the yard. And Pirates had 5 home runs in the game. And it was nice to see someone other than Carter Cunningham, JJC, and Riley Johnson, have a 3-hit game like that. And so hopefully J-Dub will continue to swing a hot bat moving into this week.
No doubt. In fact, once again, our great show is presented by Pgxgloves.com. Mark Minikazi, go there and get all your favorite swag and baseball gloves. They have football gloves, a lot of good stuff. We'll be talking about that in a little bit.
New line of Michael Jackson studded gloves coming out. You can only buy them one at a time, though, and you have to wear them on your left hand and go ee-hee.
I didn't know that. That's
yes, he direct messaged me.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Cause. Well, I'm glad to know that.
You guys remember that? You remember the Michael Jackson?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Bubba, do you remember that? Bubba does not remember
that. I and they speaking of
I was in the middle of typing a message here, but
you're messaging Cause about the match with Michael Jackson gloves. I appreciate it.
Yeah, go to pgxgloves.com. And Kyle, what do they put in the promo code to get 20% off?
EHE. No, they put in promo code ECU, and you'll save 20% at checkout. Don't forget to put that promo code in. I like saving money personally, and when it just takes 3 letters to save yourself 20%, why wouldn't you do it? So put in promo code ECU at checkout and get yourself maybe some golfing gloves out there. Maybe you don't have any kids to play baseball or football, but you play golf and you want some snazzy gloves to go out there and play golf with, and get yourself started from Pgxgloves.com.
No doubt. And they also have some great T-shirts too, some great swag. So check it out. We always talk about them at the end of the show, but we wanted to put it during the middle of the show as we're talking baseball because we appreciate Kaz has been with us.
Middle of the show? Are we only halfway done?
Well, during the show versus the end of the show.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to say middle of the show. Sorry, I misspoke there.
Yeah.
But let's go now. Speaking of PGX, thank you, Kyle. Speaking of, and Bubba, the Pgxgloves.com. Let's do our player and pitcher of the week presented by Pgxgloves.com. And you want to go player of the week, Bubba, first?
Yeah, Pgxgloves.com, player of the week, Carter Cunningham. Carter, hitting just shy of 500 now on the season. 8 out of 15 this week, 3 home runs, a triple, a double, a couple of walks, so 10 out of 17. It has that on-base percentage well over 500. I think pushing 600. 7 runs batted in, 4 runs scored, 11-game hit streak to start the season. And I did go back and check. I couldn't recall, of course, if he had gotten a hit in that season finale last year at the Charlottesville Regional, and he did not. So an 11-game hit streak for Carter Cunningham. And he's just knocking the cover off the baseball, as is JJC. JJC batting, I think, 445. And it's great to see Jacob Jenkins Cowart, playing the way we know he can play after, he struggled the second half of last season due to suffering that injury that we would wish upon no one. Not that we would wish on any injury on anyone, but those Pirate
There's some
fans
people I would wish
know the
injuries on.
injury that I'm referencing. Know the injury I'm referencing, and it was a brutal one for JJC, but he is back,
He
and
hurt his groin.
yep, and then you had our Pgxgloves.com pitcher of the week, Trey Savage. We talked about his numbers earlier, 2-0 with an ERA of 1 on the season,
He
and
already won.
and Trey Savage, 8 innings, no runs, 2 hits, 11 strikeouts, 2 walks. Opponents on the year hitting just 115 against him, and Wyatt Lunsford Chinkman was so good out of the pen and considered Wyatt. Of course, Zach pitched well, but Trey pitching so well on Friday afternoon, you cannot not go with Trey Savage in his 8 shutout innings and 2 hit performance with those 11 Ks. So nearly half of his outs were recorded via strikeout. And then kind of shifting gears a bit from our pgxgloves.com player and pitcher of the week. And, I saw here in the last 2 or 3 days, Harrison Eldridge, former Pirates center fielder under Billy Godwin. Davey Penny, who I ran into last Saturday at Segra Stadium in Fayetteville, and so many other Pirates have already joined the 23 Club. Go to the23club.org. Is ECU Baseball's NIL initiative. And of course, you only get the 11.7 scholarships. Most guys are on about, a quarter to a third of a scholarship. Some may be getting half, but that's very rare. So this is a way where we can make it more like they're getting a full ride or closer to a full ride. And hopefully eventually we'll be able to raise about $1 million or something annually. And if we're able to do that, then it would, in essence, be as though we're funding a full ride for each of the players on our roster. Now, obviously, that's up to the individual whether they choose to put the money toward their education or toward something like their housing or a car or whatever. But
Your girlfriend.
yeah, or significant other. But in essence, you would be having everyone on a full ride, which would go a long way in recruiting.
Yeah, and another thing, the 23 Club is part of Team Boneyard. So if you're wondering who's running it, and couple things I wanted to touch on. Speaking of the 23 Club and being part of Team Boneyard, I haven't dove in too deep into this. I don't know if either one of you guys have. I stumbled on something on Hoist the Colors IGO site, 24/7 Sports, where there were some tweets back and forth between Hank Hinton. Henry got involved, and whoever is running the purple and gold. What's the other one called, guys?
I have forgotten. I deal with Team Boneyard, to be honest. But no disrespect.
Bubba, do you know what the other one's called? The Purple and Gold Collective, is that right?
It's Purple and Gold Collective.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's
So
Purple and Gold Collective.
They're apparently feuding with Team Boneyard, which is exactly what we need. Who runs that? Do you guys know who runs that?
I'm not sure. They teamed up with another podcast, but
Well, clearly they showed bad judgment there. But
I'm not trying
they,
to throw shade. I was just saying.
I'm trying to throw shade because the other podcast is hot garbage. You can tell him I said that. I called the bitch out before and he ain't never answered my message.
I wasn't trying to get
Jared Shafford. Anyway, yeah, I'm just curious to know who runs that. I think it's a shame that the two NIL collectives are feuding with each other. Would be nice to say, I know there's been times where I've had problems with the Hintons, particularly going back to the Jeff Comfer Ballard crap But I it's time to put stuff in the past and let's move forward. And so far from what I can tell, the Hintons are not doing anything wrong with Team Boneyard. It seems like all the money is
Yep.
going towards the ECU student athletes, and I'd like to, we need to try to all work together. And I know I just called out another podcast and somebody else hosting the podcast, so I probably sound like a hypocrite by saying that, but they started it.
Yeah, for me personally, it's just let's work together, because the whole point is, last time I checked, everybody wants the Pirates to win. Bubba talked about that earlier about our show. We're not anti the Pirates. We're supporting the Pirates.
We're not. We're not.
I'm just saying that it just seems really petty that you're against each other, when I'm just saying that why would somebody be against another collective when it's all going to the same cause?
I think it goes back to people
There you
just
go.
having problems with the Hittens from back during the comp for Ballard stuff. And I'm saying Steve Ballard. If that doesn't sound right. Cecil Staten. I'm sorry, not Steve Ballard.
Yeah.
Goes back to the Cecil Staten, Jeff Confer stuff, and it's time to move past that. Time to move forward. And if I can do that, then I think a lot
Everybody
of other
should.
people need to also. And I'm a member of Team Boneyard. I'm a monthly due paying giving member to Team Boneyard, and proud of it.
Yeah, I mean that's what it should be. I mean, in fact, Kyle, you remember you and I were talking about this a couple years ago about NIL. I had to come to grips with myself on that, and it's a matter of, hey, we want to win. My question to myself was, do you want to win? July 21, when all this thing went down, and it's like hard to believe it's almost been 3 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah, not to sound like a Nostradamus, might sound like a Nostradamus, but I said at the time, I said, I said we need to put everything in NIL, and I remember getting some bark back, that hey, facilities still come first because it's for the good of the whole university, and that's one way to look at it. But as you take care of individuals, as we see now, you have to look what it did to football by us not embracing NIL in the portal.
They're doing it.
It destroyed us this past year. And
Yeah,
now we've gone the complete opposite direction, and we'll see what difference it makes on the football field. The pieces seem to be there. It sucks that we have to do this. It sucks that this is the situation college athletics
it
are
is what it is, right?
today, but it is what it is. And if you want to be competitive, you better pay up. And we seem to be doing that in football and baseball. We won't talk about basketball.
Please don't. And I love basketball, no, but very depressing. Hey, Bubba, I know that we got scores to do. Then I got a quick thing I want to talk to Kyle about, and you can join in if you'd like as well. But let's do scores first before we get out of here.
Yeah, we were talking about VCU, the Pirates' midweek opponent on Tuesday and Wednesday. The Rams are 8-4. They began the season dropping 2 out of 3 at NC State this week, and they actually had a 4-1 week. They lost 8-2 at North Carolina, but then bounced back with a 15-7 win over Big Ten foe Maryland, and then they took 3 games in their own tournament at the Diamond there in Richmond, and beating Sacred Heart 6-2, Central Connecticut State 10-0, and then Boston College, probably the best win of those 3, hands down, 10-1 today. So again, the Rams are 8-4. And then Liberty, they dropped all 3 games down at Coastal Carolina to the 22nd ranked Chanticleers, and they were defeated 8-7, 12-5, and 7-0 in those 3 games. Taking a look at the American, you had Wichita State. The Shockers had a 4-0 week. Nice midweek win against Oral Roberts, and then swept Utah Tech this weekend. You had Tulane
Utah Tech.
Yep, Utah Tech.
It sounds like, doesn't it? Hey, Kyle, doesn't that sound like one of those cheesy TV shows about football?
It sounds made up. Yeah, it sounds
it
Utah
does.
Tech. Yeah, it does. It sounds.
Kyle went to
Is
play
that
football.
Dixie State? Did that used to be Dixie State, Jane or Bubba?
It seems like it is because I remember
Because I remember thinking Dixie
during
State was in the
football,
South, but it's
we're like,
not.
who is this? And then it
Yeah,
was
they played
Dixie State.
BYU, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe that's the old
I
Dixie
think that's
State,
Dixie State.
which was never in the South, but I guess they felt the need to change their name anyway.
Yeah.
It may be.
So then you had Tulane, and the Green Wave also had a 4-0 week like the Shockers, and they won a midweek game against UNO, University of New Orleans, and then you had a 3-game sweep of Yale. UTSA 3-1 week, a midweek win over the Houston Cougars, and then nice series win over Grand Canyon.
Yeah, for those that don't know, if you haven't been following Roadrunner baseball, they're new to the American. UTSA is a good program. They're a consistent bubble NCAA team. So they'll be somebody we'll be competing with for the conference championship. And as you just heard, nice win over Houston, and took 2 out of 3 from Grand Canyon, who is good in baseball and basketball. That school's just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
From as an online institution to, they got a pretty good fan base too out where they are. They draw well for basketball and baseball.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, their facility is a different story. I've heard a lot of interesting stories there regarding the playing surface yeah.
Grand Canyon or
No, at UTSA.
Yeah, UTSA.
I think Grand Canyon has very
I think
good
they have state of the
facilities.
art everything. Yeah.
But Memphis also a 3-1 week. Regime change there. As their coach got the after doing a nice job in his one season at Memphis, got the Missouri job, but midweek win over UT Martin, and then took 2 out of 3 from Wright State. And as we know, Wright State's a very successful baseball program down through the years, having made super regionals on an occasion or two. FAU 2-2 week. UAB a 2-2 week. Dropped a midweek game to Bama there in Birmingham 9-7, then took 2 out of 3 at North Alabama. Charlotte 2-2 week, midweek win over Wofford, and then dropped 2 out of 3 at Old Dominion, which I referenced earlier. Rice, the Owls were 0-4, lost midweek to LSU 16-4, and then were swept at Reckling Park there in Houston by Stanford 6-2, 8-2, and 4-3.
Man, just the thing. I mean, tough opponents for Rice, but just our reference to Rice. Back when we were in the league with them before, they were a national power, and man, how their program has fallen.
Right. It used to be April, and they still wouldn't have lost 4 games.
Exactly.
And much less a 4-on-1 weekend. But then you had South Florida. Bulls just 1-3, but after dropping a game to the Seminoles 12-4 in the midweek, unbelievably competitive series in Orlando against the Big 12 Knights, and 3-3 very close games. UCF won 3-2 on Friday. The Bulls bounced back 7-5 on Saturday, and then the Knights were 1-0 victors today. So a heck of a series there in the war on I-4 on the diamond. And then some other scores of interest. You had Campbell, 21st ranked Camels, went down to Statesboro and took 2 out of 3 from Georgia Southern. So after losing 9-4 on Friday, they bounced back with 10-7 and 10-5 wins. So a really nice series win for Justin Hare and Campbell. You had Duke taking 2 out of 3 from Akron, and Duke is ranked 12th and suffered their first loss of the season, 4-3 in the middle game of that series. You had a couple of the bigger series nationally. Number 4, Florida went to Miami. The Gators took 2 out of 3, winning games 1 and 3, 7-3 and 8-4. Miami won the middle game 10-6. Then you had that traveling series with Clemson and South Carolina. Unable to get the Friday game in, but the Tigers, Eric Bakich, Nick Schnabel and company, won 5-4 on Saturday and 5-4 today. and now they are 9-1. So their only loss was that 18-1 game that they dropped to Kennesaw State. Otherwise, Eric Bakich and Clemson have been perfect. And then interesting intersectional matchup. UConn, such a proud tradition. They dropped 2 out of 3 down at 23rd ranked Auburn. They took the middle game 8-4, with Auburn winning on Friday 8-1 and Sunday 8-2. And then Wake Forest, of course, the number 1 team in the nation. The Demon Deacons are now 10-1. Couple of competitive games though against Binghamton, defeating the Bearcats 7-5 and 9-8, and then they played Elon today, defeated the Phoenix 9-0.
I got a text. You mentioned UConn. I got a text the other day, Bubba, Dave also, that UMass was joining the MAC in all sports. Did not verify. I'm assuming it's true. Yeah, so, Bubba, if you can verify that, do you think now that the MAC will invite in UConn football only? And I'm assuming they won't just sit at 13 for football, but they may.
I didn't know about that by either one. So okay.
Oh, the UConn thing is just speculation, but
Oh, that's
so
okay.
I got a text about UMass joining the MAC in all sports. Bubba, do you know about that? Is that bad
Yeah,
information?
yeah. No, I definitely heard that about UMass joining the MAC across the board.
Okay.
And then yeah, we had a viewer here on YouTube chiming in saying he Googled it up, and Utah Tech was in fact Dixie State, as we stated.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I appreciate the confirmation on that. But
And
just curious if the MAC will. To me, inviting in UMass in all sports doesn't make any sense unless you're going to go after UConn for football only.
and John White says Dallas Baptist, Conference USA for baseball, but keep an eye on them.
Yeah, no,
They're always
leaving the
good.
Valley, joining Conference USA. Yep.
They are always good, no doubt about it. You good with the scores, Bubba? Because I had something else I want to bring up before we get out of here.
Yep, I'm good to go.
All right, Kyle. You know what tonight is? Being March the 3rd. I wish we could have gone tonight, but
I have no idea what you're talking about.
you're one of the biggest wrestling fans I know as a friend.
Oh, Sting's last match. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I lost interest in it because of the Young Bucks. The Sting's last match is a huge deal, and I'm glad it's being held in North Carolina. Him and Darby Allin teaming up, no problem with that. They put the tag titles on them. There is not a human being alive outside of those idiotic Young Buck fans that obsessed with the Young Bucks, think they're the greatest tag team of all time when all they do is super kicks and leg slaps. Look, there was a lot of things you could do for Sting's last match. If you didn't think he could go out there and do a 15-minute match by itself, no problem with a tag match with him and Darby. But what I would have loved to have seen done was, we've never seen a Sting Edge match. Why not have Edge and a partner against Sting and Darby? I think that would have been great.
Yeah.
FTR is really almost too obvious and simple. Put the tag titles on Darby and Sting, and if you're gonna have Sting lose in this last match, have him lose to FTR to drop the belts to two North Carolina boys. That it makes so much more sense. To me, the only thing that could say, I think what they're going to do is have the Young Bucks, go over and kind of try to run a rough shot as heels and cheat to win Sting's last match. But to me, the only way you can make this right would be to have it look like the Bucks are going to beat Sting and Darby, and then have FTR come out to save the day, cost the Bucks the match, put Sting over. Sting and Darby win. Sting wins his final match. They vacate the tag titles because Sting's retiring, and then you do a tournament and you
Tournament.
set up another FTR Young Bucks match to cap off the tournament. That's the only thing I think that could save this. But I think
Yeah, well,
Sting's career. I don't know if you were asking me specific to comment on the event tonight or Sting's career and legacy,
both.
but both. Sting's career, obviously started, mainstream in Memphis with him and Jim Helwick, later known as the Ultimate Warrior. Went to Memphis as the Blade Runners, then went on from there to Mid South. Had a nice run
Right.
in Mid South.
Which then
Warrior
became UWF, right?
UWF, correct. Warrior left and went to World Class in WWF. Sting with Mid South UWF until it was sold to Crockett, which then sold to Turner. He became part of the NWA and WCW. So, I think most people around here exposure with Sting started in 87, 88. And he kind of had his defining moment in 88 at the first Clash in
Oh yeah.
Greensboro with Flair. That's kind of the moment that put him on the map for Sting and Flair with the 30-minute Broadway and time limit draw, and it went through the decisions, and Flair won it, and so appropriate that his career is ending in Greensboro. You could, all the great moments on WCW during his Crow Sting days. He had some good moments in TNA. I think a lot of his TNA stuff gets overlooked, but he did some good stuff in TNA, Joker Sting. Um, so I think Sting's career, a guy that did very little in the WWE, had the one WWE run late in his career with the one WrestleMania match with Triple H before the injury against Seth Rollins. But Sting's a guy icon. I like Surfer Sting. When I
Yeah,
think
way
of
better.
Sting, I,
Yeah.
I like it better than Crow Sting. I
Thank
don't know.
you.
That's the question tonight. I want to know what look he had. Did he, I would have loved to have seen him come out with the look he had when he wrestled Flair in Greensboro in '88. But it was probably the Crow Sting. That seems to be what he sticks with these days. But great career. I do not like his last match being against the Young Bucks. I don't think anybody wanted to see that.
Nope. You can add that list to me, and we'll have Stevie on. Maybe we can have a time on one of our
Yeah,
upcoming
and then
shows.
now that you say that, I'm gonna see if they're probably in the ring now. I don't know if I can find a bootleg link to that. I'm gonna hit Stevie up and see if he can hit me up with
Brother up.
a bootleg link. I used to have a good site. I may still have it in my notes, so I may be able to find that on my own.
All right, and Bubba, I know one of the things that has been great about our show is a great product where we can actually get ECU stuff, home field, right?
Yeah, I appreciate home field support. They have some sharp looking, the vintage marks as well as the modern contemporary marks there, and current logos. The Script Pirates hoodie, very very nice hoodies. I don't have that Script Pirates one just because
I'll eat that.
I'll probably end up getting it, even though because I have another Script Pirates that has the one from the UBE that has that logo and the logo that you have on the gold shirt there, um, below the Script Pirates. But you have excellent shirts and hoodies. Very very comfortable and nice fitting. I mean, you can use promo code TSO at checkout, 15% off. I believe that's on your first transaction, but and perhaps ensuing transactions as well. But we'll share a link on our Sports Objective Facebook page as well as other social media. Anything you purchase, you can help support us, by purchasing pirate gear through home field, or it doesn't have to be pirate gear. Maybe you have a spouse that attended a nurse school, or
Justin Buck.
or you just like to wear some, some Liberty Flames gear, or if there's another program out there, on those rare occasions when you're not wearing East Carolina gear, if you
Yeah.
just some random school, from the Midwest or West Coast, sometimes like I'll have some different programs that East Carolina is very rarely going to play, and just one of those kind of deals. Unlike Kyle, do you happen to have any Southern Miss gear?
He
Even though that's not a good example because we did play them regularly, but
I do not have any Southern Miss gear. Now that we don't play them, I wouldn't be opposed to having any.
right.
What I do have is if my Jessica was raised a Tennessee fan, so she has several. She loves any Tennessee shirt that has Smokey on it. So she has a couple Tennessee ball shirts with Smokey, so that's something. But yeah, homefieldapparel.com is where you want to go. They have over 150 schools to choose from, as you alluded to. And you got to put in that promo code TSO at checkout, and you'll save yourself 15%. And people will know that you heard about them from listening to us, so it helps us. So help yourself by putting in that promo code TSO to save 15%, but also help us because we get a kickback when that promo code's put in. So
Right.
homefieldapparel.com.
And by the way,
And in that link that we'll have pinned on the top of our Facebook page, if you purchase directly from that link, as Kyle's saying, we get 10% of that. So so yeah, if you're buying any gear, whatever the occasion, we'd really appreciate it if you use our link to go through Home Field Apparel.
Yeah, and that link will be put on our Facebook page and our
We'll,
Twitter.
we'll pin it, pin it on our X, and we'll put it on our own social media as well.
I heard a rumor that Kyle actually has a Utah Tech hoodie. I don't know if that's true. He got it on home.
I was Dixie State, but I had to quit wearing it, and so I got
Okay.
Utah State.
All right.
Yeah.
JR, message me privately. He says, "Where can I get a D's Bucks hoodie?" Yeah, that's something that I had printed up locally, prior to the Birmingham Bowl in
Good
that game against Coastal Carolina, and that's just something I had done, here in the Salisbury area. So I've had probably, I don't know, at least 5 or 6, if not 10 people, say, "Hey, where can I get a hoodie like that?" And reaching out to me on social media, and I said I'll put an order together and get back to you. So yeah, just message me, JR, and we'll get it taken care of.
And we have our, by the way, project I'm working on. Eventually, we'll have where you can get all our stuff from 1932, our apparel.
Yeah, EST 1932, which is an apparel line we have, which is some cool looking stuff. And for subjective apparel, yeah, eventually we'll have a link on a website where we can do all this.
We're working
So,
on that. I can tell you guys that
yeah.
we're working.
Yeah, Dave's got to vet people better that design websites.
Don't worry, I got one now that close to home.
Okay. Oh,
So
really? Okay.
yeah, I hadn't had a chance to tell you guys, but yeah. So we have that, and we've got a lot of cool stuff.
Mackenzie has taken up web design.
She has. Hey, baby,
All right.
can you make the no? No, not her. But a dear friend of mine. In fact, he gave the name The Sports Objective to me, so to use. So 6 years now. So Mark Arson, he's gonna work on our website. He'll probably be mad at that. He likes behind the scenes stuff. But he's working on our website, so we'll be working on that here. It'll be out in 24, so for sure this year. There's a lot of other stuff we're working on behind the scenes that, including if you want to sponsor the show, that's one of our goals this year, to have more sponsors. We appreciate our great sponsors like Pgxgloves.com. And Kyle, I know that you're a big fan of, like me, Pgxgloves.com.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of advertisement during this show as our only sponsor for this show. But yeah, pgxgloves.com. Go there, order yourself some gloves from golf to baseball to football. Michael Jackson gloves, I hear they're not ready yet, so you're going to have to wait on those.
Right.
But put in promo code ECU at checkout, save yourself 20% at pgxgloves.com.
And if Jim Cornette had a glove or gloves,
God damn, it's a burger-eating glove.
it would be on pgxgloves.com.
I'm gonna start doing our promos like Cornette does his promos. I'm just gonna throw in off the wall crap, stuff that couldn't possibly be true to freak you and Bubba out the whole time. That'll actually get people to notice the promo spots more, because that's what Corny's doing the whole time. If anybody listens to Cornette's podcast, if you don't, you should. He'll do these promo codes that it just sounds like the sponsors would hate it, but the thing is, you remember them.
Yes, you do.
So.
All right. Thanks to Bubba. Thanks to Kyle. Thanks to all of you listening. And I want to give a shout out to all our traditional podcast people. I want to say this before we go again. If you're just joining us, 6 years as of Friday, March 1st, 2018 is when we started. I've had so many people, Kyle, that say that they make a point to, whenever they have a long commute, they're a salesperson, they're having to go state to state, they're having to go across the state, they put on the Sports Objective. So I want to give them a shout out. And I'm sure there might be some truckers. I've never met a trucker that liked the Sports Objective outside of Justin Butts, Justin's company, family company. But I know there's some others out there that we haven't met yet, but certainly appreciate them. Well, we hope the Pirates do well on Tuesday and Wednesday, obviously at home against
Hey,
VCU.
one more thing, real fast, Dave, before
Sure.
we go. I wanted to ask Bubba. I could ask him off the air, but I'll ask him on the air. Bubba, are you going to New York for the Army game?
So far in advance, I
Well, that's how you got
haven't.
to plan. I plan in advance.
Well, yes, but when you have two younger kids and don't know what may be going on,
They don't matter. They just
but
Oh, yeah.
yes, I intend on going to West Point, and I hopefully Riley will make that trip with me. I was 14 years old when I made that trip in '95. And so, obviously that would be, it's the final weekend of October.
October 19th, the weekend after my birthday.
So, yeah, that'd be a good early birthday present for Riley. Riley's birthday is October 26th. So,
Oh, yeah.
a week before he turns 13, take him back to New York.
Yeah, me and Dave are planning on going up, and
New
we're
York
making plans.
City,
We're making plans. Going to get to stay in New York City and hit up
Times
to West
Square,
Point.
baby.
Dave, did you reserve the hotel yet?
I did.
All right,
When we talked that day, that like an hour later,
all
I
right.
booked that room. Thanks to our friend Matt for it's
Yeah,
Matt.
yeah. Thanks, Matt, for getting us all off budget. I appreciate it. Didn't take much to get Dave off budget, but I told Dave, I was like, I told you my budget, mother
He said
trucker.
he said he wanted to stay at the Super 8. So I was like, Kyle,
No.
you
I said
cannot
about
stay at
four
the
hundred
Super
dollars
8.
a night. About $400 a night was my budget, and then Dave's like, "I got this hotel. It's $75 million." I was like, "Well, I'm paying 400 tonight,
Yeah,
Dave."
that's fine. That's fine, man. I told you I wanted you and Jessica. They've never been to New York. And so I said he and his wife, and I said, hey, this hotel is nice. We're gonna have a great time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You only live once, and this.
Well, it all depends. If you're a Buddhist, you live more than once.
Well, that's true. I'm a Christian,
Well,
so
how much per night is this?
it's not cheap. It's
Uh,
not Semenza money.
yeah, it's my. I'm good for 400, and and Dave's got the rest of pair. I told Dave, I said, "Do not get us in a situation where you have to cancel this damn hotel last minute,
What
No,
do
I'm
you,
and
not.
we have to
are,
find
what are
something
y'all
cheaper."
are y'all staying in New York City at the Plaza?
We're
Times
staying in New York
Square.
City in Times Square, at one of the big hotels with the billboards on the side, the electric signs and crap.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great, guys. I can't wait.
Look, as long as you got the rest of it, I'm
I got it.
good. I'm good. I
I
I
told you I
told
got it.
you. I told you what I'm good for, and then 50-50 the rest of the way. And
I'm good with that.
if that's where you want to stay, then
I'm not
as
staying.
as long as you
No
got the
offense.
difference, do
I'm
what?
not. I'm not staying where you have to walk over dead bodies. I'm
Oh
not
well,
staying there.
any of the Marriott properties we were looking at would have been fine. I mean, you're
I
not
know.
going to
I'm
run into
joking.
trash with Marriott. I mean, I wouldn't stay at the Super 8 or the Red Roof Inn in New York City. Choice hotels.
What about
But
Motel 6?
I know, I'll stay at any of those. I've stayed at the Super 8 by the Greensboro Coliseum with the crackheads many times. But it's that's Greensboro. That's not New York City. So, hey, look, I'll tell you a story. I was at Greensboro Coliseum for a wrestling match, I was in Greensboro at the Super 8 near the Greensboro Coliseum to go see a wrestling match. It wasn't at the Coliseum, but back in '06, and I was walking down the hallway to go to the drink machine, and this pretty little blonde walks up to me. Says, "Hey, man, you got a lighter?" I said, "Nah, no lighter." I was like, "You can get matches from up at the front desk." She's like, "No, it's got to be a lighter." So, yeah, we can kind of figure out what she was smoking, and it was not cigarettes or weed.
Yep, there you go. There you have it. That's exactly where I want to stay.
Yeah, you can do that in Greensboro, and you'll be all right. You just New York City, no, not staying anywhere like that.
No, to ask Matt, ask some hints about where not to stay. He would have more of a pulse on that for sure. All right, let's get out of here. Thanks to Mark Minikazi from Pgxgloves.com for the title sponsorship all season long on Extra Innings. Every Sunday night, good luck to the Pirates this week. At home Tuesday, Wednesday with VCU, and in Lynchburg at Liberty this coming weekend. So some of you Pirates I know are going there to Liberty to watch the game and get some wins for us up there. All right, guys. Until next time, as always, you've been watching and listening to Extra Innings on the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody. And as always, go Pirates.
That concludes this week's edition of Extra Innings, presented by Pgxgloves.com on the Sports Objective. Join us again next Sunday night as we will again talk East Carolina Pirate baseball. Be sure to follow the Sports Objective on social media. It can be found at the Sports OBJ on X, at the Sports Objective on Instagram and TikTok. Like and follow the show on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell and all so you're alerted on your device anytime we go live or upload new content. As always, we appreciate you watching and listening to the show. Go Pirates!